Hi everyone, it's Marguerite with Wreaths by Marguerite. Welcome back to a new year of creating beautiful things for your home. Happy 2026. This will be the first kit of the year. It's the Valentine's kit, as you can tell, called the Love Shack. It's done in the storm door style, which is often referred to as well. The original name is pancake wreath, but you know what I get all the time when I say I have a pancake wreath, so it was just easier to start calling them storm door wreaths. There are wreaths that are under 4 inches deep so that you can put them behind a screen or a storm door up against your regular door without them looking crushed once the door is closed in front of them. So hang out and follow along while I make this beautiful new storm door wreath for the Valentine's Day season, the first kit of the year, which will be available in my Etsy shop. If you like what you see and want to purchase a kit, Etsy is where you go to the Wreaths by Marguerite page. So let's get this started, okay? Here we go. Okay, so let's go over the supplies in this kit. Take my glasses off. First thing, it's all centered around this sign. You'll get the sign if you purchase a kit with all the pipe cleaners attached to the back. I've taken 2 pipe cleaners and cut them in half and put them on 4 sides of the sign so it's ready to go. I'm going to set that out of the way for now because we're not going to be using it till the end. Actually, before I do that, when you're using an MDF sign like this, it's not real wood, it's a pressed wood. Make sure your signs are at least a 1/4 inch deep so you can use staples to put your pipe cleaners on. If your sign is less than a 1/4 inch thick, you should put a piece of foam on the back before you put on the pipe cleaners, because the staples are perfect for this thickness of sign, but not for anything thinner. The staples will go through. So you can do that, or you can use cable tie mounts. This is what we use on metal signs and the sort. They look like this. They're little square plastic 1x1 cable tie mounts that are adhesive on the back. If you use these, you should use a super glue first. Put that on the material on the back of the sign, and then you should take off the paper off of the back of the foam that's adhesive. Stick it on the sign, and then I always go back around it with hot glue after it's on there to help hold it down. That will dry fast. They'll both dry pretty fast, but adding that hot glue gives you the extra protection of the cable tie mount not pulling off, so that you can use it quicker instead of having to let it sit and wait until it's completely cured. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm still getting over a cold, so that's going to be my excuse today, okay? So there you go. If you use the cable tie mount, you're still going to use the 4 halves of pipe cleaners in the cable tie mounts to hold on to it. Next product you have as part of your kit is a 14¼ inch wreath frame. It has to have 4 rails, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 crossbars, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, for it to work for the pancake / storm door method. Because you're going to put 6 pipe cleaners on the outer 2 rings or rails, whichever you want to call them, and those go where the crossbars are. And then you're going to do 6 on the inside on the rings 3 and 4 in between the crossbars. So they're in between. Okay, so you'll be working with this first and foremost, and then you'll secondly be using the deco mesh. This is a deco poly mesh that has some fabric in it. These are 10 inches wide, I should say, 10 inches wide, and they are all cut at a 20 inch, get that out of the way, at a 20 inch length this way, okay? This is a patterned mesh, also, just to point out, and you have a hot pink on the outer edge there and a light pink on the inner edge here, closest to me. That'll be important for how you place your mesh, and I'll talk about that as we go along. And then last but not least are your ribbon tails. I've already pre-cut most of them and made bundles for them, which I'll show you how to do with the rest. These are the 3 colors. I went with an all pattern. All 3 of these are patterned, and I went with all 3 2.5 inch ribbon. When I say 2.5 inch ribbon, 2.5 inches this way. You can also use the narrow, more narrow ribbon, which is a 1.5 inch wide, or you could even use a 4 inch. If I use a 4 inch, I only use 2 ribbons. If not, it's either 3 2.5s like you see in this kit, or a mixture of 2.5 and 1.5. Just keep in mind, the more 2.5 inch ribbons you use, the more coverage of the mesh you're going to get. And that, if you're doing other projects, is up to you how much you want your mesh to show or not. This is a very pretty mesh, but we're still going to cover it up quite a bit. So there's that. Keep that in mind. You're going to get, usually you'll just get 1 bundle of each of the ribbon styles that you're going to be using. But sometimes if I'm almost done with a reel or a roll of ribbon, you might get 2 bundles. But as long as they equal 12, you're good to go, because you have 12 pipe cleaners on the frame. So you're going to need 12 sets of each of these ribbons. So I left 4 of each for me to cut to show you how best to cut these, but we're not working on the ribbon right away, so we're going to go ahead and put that aside as well. So let me put this here and out of the way so we can get started. Okay, so if you noticed as I was explaining to you all the elements on this frame, I pulled all of the outside 6 pipe cleaners to the outside because we're going to be working with those first. Okay, so I have these all pushed in so they're out of the way while I'm working on the outside. So it's always the outside, then the inside. The method is mesh, ribbon, then mesh, ribbon. So we're going to start with the mesh. And when you're working on these frames, I recommend that you make sure the one you're going to work out is directly in front of you with the pipe cleaner to put your mesh in. I'm left-handed, and I don't know what other reasoning it is, but I feel a little more comfortable with it either tilted to the left or the right, not straight on. It's just not as comfortable for me. And I even probably turn a little bit in the chair. So, but that's me. You'll find your comfort zone. But I always recommend as a new maker that you have the piece that you're working on directly in front of you. As I've done in-person classes, I learned very quickly that I needed to do that because people would put in their mesh in a different fashion than I recommend for this method. Because remember, we're trying to keep this wreath under 4 inches deep. You don't have to if it's not going behind a storm or a screen door, but I always recommend that positioning. So the first thing I do is I always bring out my pipe cleaners horizontal to me so they're ready for me to place the mesh in. You'll understand as we go along and as you're doing it yourself why I do that. Because we all honestly almost need 3 hands, and that's not going to happen. I don't know anybody with 3 hands. I'm afraid if there is. Nothing personal if you have 3 hands. I have short thumbs, and that doesn't stop me. Little humor there. Okay, so you see, as I've talked with you guys, I've turned the frame as I'm adjusting the pipe cleaners. Okay, so now it's time to start using the mesh. I'm going to sit this over here. It's more my comfort zone. So I usually have a variety of tools, including a chip clip, wire cutters, scissors, needle nose. That's an extra one. And I usually keep a dowel on the table as well. If you don't have a dowel, a pen or a pencil will do as well. They're about the same diameter. We're going to use this to twist our pipe cleaners when we get to the top, but not right now. So either a pen or a pencil. I have these little wooden dowels from crafting, so they work perfect. Excuse me. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to get this mesh ready to go in the frame. Always, always you want your mesh curl side down. Curl side down. I use the table to open it up. It helps a lot. And then I'm going to need to find the center on both ends, starting with this side. I used to teach it with a ruler or the cutting mat, to find your center, but one day I finally went, dumb Marguerite, what do you need those tools for? All you got to do is fold it in half. Just makes too much sense, doesn't it? So that's my center. So that's where I'm going to put my chip clip. And that's my focal point when gathering. And you'll understand that more in just a second. Then down here on this end, I'm going to start. I'm using this piece that's slightly wrinkled on the end, but none of them will be like that in your kit. Okay. So now I've got it that way. The clip helps hold it down because otherwise it starts to curl up on you. And when you're gathering your mesh, that can be annoying. So I always do that. Sometimes that doesn't work entirely, and I throw my phone on the top as well to hold it down. You do whatever's easiest for you and you're more comfortable. Like I said, these are just guidelines. So I need to do the same thing on this end. I need to fold it directly in half, find my center, which is where my index finger here is. And I'm going to take all of the mesh and I'm going to start gathering it in that center point with all of my fingers. I have my thumbs on the outside of the mesh, and then I'm going to take all of my fingers and just start gathering it. You can either work towards the clip or pull it down towards you as you're gathering it. But the clip secondarily is a visual guide so that you can do your best to stay on center as you're gathering, so you don't end up way off on one side and the other, so you have an even amount of mesh on each side of your fingers. You get to the top, you take the clip off, and then put it in your hands. I usually put it in my thumb and forefinger loosely so that I can make an adjustment so that it's even on both sides and the edges meet. So these meet, but by the time I get it in the frame sometimes, it'll be off by an inch or so. When that happens, I'll show you, and I will show you how to solve that problem. This mesh is a lot easier to gather because it has the lines in it. So you have the visual guide through the entire mesh to try to stay on center as you're ruffling. But that technique that I just did, I'm going to do through the whole project, just as a constant reminder of what you can do to make sure you stay centered. Because with solid colored ribbon, no, not ribbon. Well, mesh is classified as ribbon some places you go, so that's not too far off. But as you're gathering the mesh and it's a solid color, it's much harder to stay centered. So that's why the chip clip helps. And in this case, with this pretty striped mesh, it's easier to handle and keep it even. Okay, so I've got it right. So you're going to bring the tie, the pipe cleaner that you're going to work on directly in front of you, and it's horizontal, so you're going to take and put your mesh in vertically. See that? It's going in the opposite direction of the pipe cleaner, so it's going in vertically. This is where it's nice to have the pipe cleaners out and prepped for you like I did, so that you are ready to put your mesh directly in there. You're going to bring that pipe cleaner around the center, and you're going to pull it tight. Don't be afraid of the pipe cleaner. They're pretty sturdy. Fairly tight, but keeping it down low. And then you're just going to twist it low 1, 2, 3 times. And then I bring it up out of the way till I'm ready to use it for the ribbon. And as you see here, I'm going to take the outside cut edge on one side over the inside cut edge. And then I'm going to take the outside cut edge on this side over the inside cut edge. Now this came out, see how it lines up nicely? Perfect. Let me just pop out these little bubbles. I'm going to pull it. If I pull on the mesh, you never pull on it from the outside edge because that'll change the pattern because it's such a loose weave. You hold your pipe cleaners and pull right at the base of the pipe cleaners if you don't think yours is lined up. This side is about an inch gap. It's between my 2 fingers here. So I need to make an adjustment to bring this out a little bit further. So I'm going to go in up next to the pipe cleaner and pull it out about that much space, like I had in between these 2 fingers. And now these are even. So there's the first poof. When I put the mesh into the frame, I don't do one after the other, after the other, after the other. I do one, I skip one. I do one, I skip one. I do one, I skip one. Okay? And then once I get the first 3 in, that one, this one, and this one, I come back and put in these. When I do that, I believe that it keeps the mesh flatter for the sake of the storm door style. You try and see what you think. Okay, so now remembering I have the hot pink on the outside. I'm going to want to do the same on this one here and this one here. Okay, so I've opened it up, curl side down, and folding it in half. And I'm finding my center, putting my clip there, laying it up. If I didn't have the clip, it would be pretty easy. I'd measure it, and it's right at the edge of the hot pink, and the light pink here is my center. So that helps a lot. But still, for the sake of learning, I'm going to fold it in half and then find the center with by doing that. Repetition helps you remember better. So I'm going to take and put my thumbs on the outside, and I'm going to gather all of the mesh into my thumbs, going up towards the clip. And this is just a chip clip that I had in the house. And of course it's purple, my favorite color. This is my favorite one to use. It's the little things that make us happy, right? I've gotten all the way to the top. I'm going to take that last little bit into my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to hold it loosely with my thumb and forefinger so I can line these up. I need to come this way just a little bit more. Okay, then remember, bring the frame over with the horizontal pipe cleaners. Put the mesh in vertically right in the center. Bring the pipe cleaners up while still holding on to the mesh till we get this pipe cleaner up and it's fighting me. Okay. Up, over, twist tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Marguerite, why does it have to be tight and low? Again, we're trying to keep the depth of this wreath under 4 inches, so at every point that you can keep everything tight and low, that's what you want to do. So I did it 3 times, pulled these up in the air out of the way, and I'm going to take this outside edge over this inside edge. This outside edge over this inside edge. Make sure everything looks good. Grab it up by the pipe cleaner if you need to make an adjustment. Makes it pretty easy knowing that all of this light pink needs to be on the outside of, on my side of the poof. Okay, so we're going to skip this one and go here. And we're going to put it curl side down. I'm using the table to unroll it. Fold it in half. I remember to keep that hot pink on the side that's going to go on the outside of the frame. Hot light pink towards the center. Lay it out on the table. Fold it in half to find my center. Mark it with your finger. Then put your thumbs on the outside and start to ruffle. You can either, like I said, work your way up towards the clip or bring it towards you as you're gathering it. Using all your fingers, keeping your ruffles fairly small because, again, that's going to help keep the height, the depth, I should say, of the wreath lower. Mine usually average between 3.5 and 4 inches deep. Okay, I'm holding it loose with my thumb and forefinger, and I'm moving it around to get it centered so my outside edges match up as closely as possible. Super easy when it's got this pattern in it. Bring this over, pipe cleaners horizontal, and then the mesh vertical with that hot pink towards me. Tight, twist, low, 3 times. Okay, I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. This outside edge over this inside cut edge. Why do you keep saying that this is, you're putting it outside cut edge over inside cut edge, okay? Let me explain this to you as I'm ruffling it and fluffing it out and adjusting it. When you cut mesh, it is completely unavoidable to have frayed edges. There are people that use a wood burner to cut their mesh, which you need to do in a ventilated area. I usually do it outside, or at least with a fan nearby, because it gets a little smelly, and this is plastic. If you use a wood burner, it can slow down the fray. A lot of the fray comes from how much you handle it. So the less you handle it, the better. The less it's exposed to being snagged, the better. So by putting the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge, and doing it this way instead of this way, it hides all your cut edges on the interior of the wreath. So it's not going to catch on anything except for itself. So I was still working on fluffing this out. I'm going to hold that pipe cleaner and pull this out a little bit because the edges are not even. That side is now, that side is now. And if you can turn the outer edges under, I try to do that too. It's going to fight you. It may be futile, but at least give it a shot. Helps it lay nice. And it gives you a better perspective on whether you have that nice circle, okay? Now that the first three are done, there they are, I'm going to go back and do the other three. I'm going to do the other three with the light pink on the outside and the hot pink on the inside. Where on these three, I did hot pink on the outside. So hot pink, it'll be light pink, hot pink, light pink, hot pink, light pink. You can do it that way, or you can do it all light pink on the outside or all hot pink on the outside. Just be consistent. As a maker, you'll definitely notice it if you make a mistake that way. And if they're not consistent, most times customers don't, but we want to give a quality product when we're making for sale. I do a lot of craft shows, so that's important to me for sure. If your mesh starts to fray at all while you're working with it, make sure that you cut off the frayed pieces that are sticking out as you go. It's a lot easier than doing after the fact. Yes, granted, if it's fraying underneath, no one will see it, but, you know, I like a clean project. Trash can. So let's go ahead and do the next three, and then we get to start playing with the ribbon. Okay, now, before I go any further, if you hadn't noticed, I'm wearing short sleeves. I always wear short sleeves when I'm working with mesh. Most projects I do, because the mesh is like Velcro. It will stick to anything and everything, including itself. And that will either damage your clothes or damage the mesh's design. So remember that. If you do have to wear long sleeves, roll them up as far as you can so that they're out of place, so they don't get stuck on anything. Also, my workspace, this mat is a 36-inch mat, and the table is 60 inches. So this gives me plenty of room to work with, so I'm not getting this caught in anything else either. You notice I have everything pretty much laying on the outskirts of my tables while I'm working on this, and I move it out of the way when I'm working with other things, and then I bring it back to me. I find that that's the best way. That's my technique. Again, everything I show you in these videos is my suggestions. If you decide to do something a different way, you go for it. Okay, so let's fold it in half again, clip it at the top, put that up there, do the same thing on the other end. Start ruffling it into your thumbs, heading towards that clip at the top, getting it all ruffled and in your thumbs. Take that last little bit. If you take the clip out, put it in your thumb and forefinger, hold it loosely so that you can line up your mesh without damaging it as you pull it, because it's nice and loose. and you're not grabbing it on the edges. Okay, so we're going to bring that back over here. Okay. Now once you get these in, the mesh will stick to the Velcro, like Velcro, to the pieces next to it. So remembering we're putting the light pink on the outside this time. Put this mesh in here. Getting it nice and centered. Bringing that pipe cleaner up and over. Twisting it tight and low. And then twist 1, 2, 3. Okay, bring this out of the way. And we're going to now take this outside edge over this inside edge. And this outside edge over this inside edge. Now, I've got a point here, and I have a dip on this side, so I know that it's not perfectly circular. So I'm going to hold it to the pipe cleaner, and I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to pull it up the best I can without damaging the mesh. If you have to loosen the pipe cleaner, you can do that. That took that out. This needs to come out a little more. There's still a little bit of a point on the other side. We want that outside edge to be nice and circular. So bottom line with the mesh, the shape, when you're doing it, you want to make sure they're all about 5 inches from the pipe cleaner to the outer edge. And you want to have a nice circle on the outside. No one's going to see what's up here because it's all going to be covered with more ribbon and mesh and the sign. So the most important piece for you is this outside edge, okay? And if you're not sure if it's 5 inches, yeah, you could use a ruler, or if you have a cutting mat, which you'll need to cut mesh on so you don't ruin your table, you can just use it to eyeball it and see if it's 5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And again, it's pretty easy to tell on this particular mesh when you have it evenly centered, because it'll have the light pink on one side of the pipe cleaners and the hot pink on the outside. Okay. So, do 2 more. We're going to turn it. I like to have it turned the direction I'm going to put it in the frame. Fold it in half. Put your clip. Go to the other end, do the same thing. Mark it with your finger and then just follow the lines. Ruffle it all into your hand. Ruffle to the top. Get the rest in your fingers. Loosely hold it with your thumb and index finger. I'm all right. All right, so there we go. Does that look even? Yep. We're going to bring it over here and put that light pink on the outside, the hot pink on the inside, putting it in vertically. I'm going pretty slow for you guys so you can catch all the hand movements as well. Twist tight and low. 1, 2, 3. I'll get those pipe cleaners out of the way. We don't need those for now. Take that outside cut edge on one side and put it over the inside cut edge. Then do the same on the other side. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Okay? Let's see. Is it even? Take a look at it. That's even there. That looks even there. This has a point. That has a dip. So I'm going to hold it by the pipe cleaner and bring that up just a touch. Alright. Reaching it all the way up there. Okay. There. One more to go on this layer. Take that off. Pink on the outside. Fold it in the half, curl side down. Remember, curl side down. We're always doing this curl side down. Oop, see, I jumped ahead because this is habit for me. Stop that, Marguerite. There we go. Fold it in half. Ruffle it down the center into your thumb and forefinger. Using your thumb and forefinger. I recommend using all of them But I have little quick trick habits that I do on the side. So I'm sorry. I hope I didn't confuse you. I've been doing this for almost 8 years now. Bring that over. Put this in there vertically. So the mesh always goes in vertical. The pipe cleaners are horizontal. Okay? When doing the mesh, just the mesh. It's the opposite with the ribbon. So tight and low. 1, 2, 3. Bring this up and out of the way. And we're going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Get out of the way, pipe cleaners. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge, okay? This is slightly off, so I'm going to pull it down here at the pipe cleaner. That way, too, if you're grabbing it at the pipe cleaner rather than the outside edge, number 1, you're not messing up the pattern and the loose weave. Number 2, if you do a little bit down here, no one will ever see it because it's going to be completely hidden. Okay, so there is the first layer. And now we are going to start playing with the ribbon. So like I said, I already pre-made the bundles. There's one of each ribbon in the bundle. I placed the ribbon on top of the pile in the bundle that I want on top. And then same thing for the other 2. Now this is a directional ribbon. The hearts all go in one direction. You're going to have to keep that in mind. I'm going to take the same approach with the ribbon as I did with the mesh. So every other is going to have it with the hearts this way, and every other is going to have it with the hearts this way. Okay? This one is not directional because the hearts go all sorts of different directions. And the same thing with the stripe. Okay, so let me put these bundles aside and show you how you're going to want to cut all this ribbon. For each bundle you have, they're already pre-folded. New this year, I'm making them 13 inches in length instead of 12 inches in length. You can do the 12 inches in length if you're trying to save on using product, but I think it gives it a nicer look, a fuller look with the extra inch. I know some people do 14 inch. That's entirely up to you. I'm not comfortable. I think it's a little too much, but that's my preference. That doesn't mean it's the only one. Okay, so I'm going to start. You'll get 13 pieces of ribbon, but you'll only need 12. You get 1 extra of each just in case you need it for if you've made a mistake. So doing the prep work like I show you is going to alleviate the need to have that extra piece, but just in case. And this is generally how I do it when I'm working off camera so that I don't waste materials. But when you're new, you make mistakes, and that's okay. That's why I gave you, the extra piece. So you need 12, you have 13, okay? So they're all folded for you at 13 inches in length, so you won't have to worry about measuring them. So what you're going to do is you're going to open your bundle, and there's a right side and a wrong side to this ribbon. So you're going to have the folds at the top and the bottom, and you're going to put a couple fingers in between the center, and you're going to cut your whole bundle at once. You're going to cut here at this end, and then you're going to cut here at this end. And then you're going to have 2 distinctly different piles. I always tell my students to turn it immediately, so all of the ribbon has the folded side, the finished side up. There is a distinct front and back to these, but it's much more difficult to ascertain when you're dealing with this solid color ribbon. So I just practice this always so I don't ever forget. It's much harder to see that with the solid color ribbon. This is pretty obvious. So I immediately fold my ribbon tails with the pattern on the inside. So I fold it exactly in half and give it a nice crease down here. Just get them all folded. I'm going to set that aside for now. And then I'm going to do the next bundle. So I'm going to find my center. You can see how different the back is from the top of the ribbon. I'm going to go to one end and cut it, the whole bundle, and the other end and cut it. Again, two distinctly different looks. I'm going to turn it. And then I'm going to fold them one at a time. One. Finish side on the inside of the fold. Some people do it the other way. This is my technique that I'm most comfortable with. Oh, styrofoam. I was like, what is that? I pretty much have all the Christmas put away in storage, so I was like, I thought I had all of the snow cleaned up. So there are those. Let's do this last bundle. Again, it's a pattern. Put your fingers, a couple of in between both sides of the bundle. Cut it. Cut it. Turn it so they're all the same. And then since these are directional, let's make sure that they're all facing the same direction. You can fold it directly in half. Careful with the ribbon too, the wires can catch on things, so it just tried to catch on that mesh. I'm like, no, 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 no. Okay, so now let's go ahead and cut the design. There is a V shape at either end or both ends of the ribbon, so we're going to do that now. It's either called a dovetail, ducktail, or just that V. I go with dovetail. So each one of these we're going to do now is we're going to use this technique to cut them. I've found that this is a fail-safe in not screwing up. I always put the folded side creased side down of the ribbon to the table with the cut side up towards the ceiling, and then I make sure that the pieces of ribbon are evenly placed, wire to wire. I'm going to fold it in half, wire to wire, so I have the wired side here and a new fold. I'm going to cut about 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch down at an angle up towards the ceiling, towards that wired edge. And there you have it. So let's just keep doing that, okay? Folded side down. Make sure those wires are even. Fold it in half. Cut it from the new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle. There you go. This is tedious doing it one at a time, but I find that it's very important when you're a new maker that you do it this way so you don't waste product and so you get in the routine. So folded side down, fold it directly in half, wire to wire, cut from the new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle, folded side down, evenly placed, fold it in half, wire to wire, keeping that folded side down, cut it from the new fold to the wire up towards the ceiling at a 45-degree angle, okay? I try to clean as I go, but when it comes to this, I wait till all the ribbons finished. Okay, so the next one, folded side down, wire to wire, fold it in half, evenly, cut from the new fold to the tip of the wire, towards the ceiling at a 45-degree angle. Folded side down, cut from the new fold to the wire. Why is this so important? Because if you don't do it this way and you're chatting with your friends or you're distracted or you're watching TV while you're working on this and you get distracted and you accidentally turn it with the cut side down, if you fold it in half with the folded side up, and you cut there, you're going to end up with two small pieces of ribbon that you can't use. I've seen people use some sort of bonding to put them back together, but you lose length in that. If you would like to see all the mistakes you can make and how to recover from them, be sure to go and watch any of my first 6 to 8 videos from 2024, my first year doing this. There are ways to correct it if you make some mistakes, and there are some mistakes that you can't recover from, and I just explained the one that you can't recover from. So it's always important to have that folded side down on the table. So we're going to fold it in half, we're going to cut from the new fold up towards the wire at a 45-degree angle. Fold it side down, fold it directly in half, making sure those wires are even, because if you don't, then you're going to have a larger point on one side and a shorter point on the other. So it's so important to make sure they're evenly stacked. So now we're going to cut from that new fold to the wire towards the ceiling at a 45-degree angle. And then this is the last one. So you'll be doing this 36 times because there's 3 ribbon tails per pipe cleaner. So 3 times 12 is 36. Yes, we're using math. So fold it side down. Make sure your ribbon is even. Fold it directly in half. Cut from the new fold to the wire. I'm going very slow. This is not my normal speed, but you guys need to have the best directions I can give you. Fold it in half. I have that folded side down towards the table. Cut side towards the ceiling. Now this one you can't see unless you're really watching this on a really large TV. There was a little bit of wire sticking out of the top of the ribbon. That happens. The ribbon settles and sometimes the wire sticks out further. It is what it is. It doesn't hurt anything. Just cut it off. Fold it side down. Nice and even. Fold it in half. Cut from the new fold to the wire upwards towards the ceiling at a 45-degree angle. And then here's our last one. Fold it side down. Fold it neatly in half so those wires are perfectly aligned. Cut from the new fold to the wire at a 45-degree angle. Okay, now I'm going to throw my trash away. I'm not dumping it on the floor. There's a trash can right here. Although I've been known to do that. Okay, so now I'm going to make my bundles so that they match these because that's how I want them to be placed in the wreath. So I always put the one on top inside the second one, and then the second one inside the bottom one. In, and then in. The prep work takes the most amount of time, but it makes it so much easier when you're assembling it and less chaotic. That one's not perfect, so okay, when I cut this one, I can fix this. This is still squared off. I didn't cut it down far enough, so I'm just going to fold it in half again. I didn't come down far enough, I guess. And just take off a little strip. No fingernails right now, so picking things up is annoying. All this cold, dry weather. Okay, so now the point is corrected. So put this one inside of this one, and then this side of this one. Okay, so now we're ready to go. We get to play with the ribbon now. When you did the mesh, you had your pipe cleaners horizontal because you put your mesh in vertically. Well, with the ribbon tails, it's the opposite. We're going to put all of our pipe cleaners vertical because we're going to put our bundles in horizontal. So mesh, vertical, pipe cleaners, horizontal. Ribbon, horizontal, pipe cleaners, vertical. And again, you notice I'm turning it as I go. Okay, so I'm going to take a bundle and I'm going to open it up on the table and I'm going to gather it where that crease was. Get it into my thumb and forefinger, and at least on this bottom layer, we're going to pull the tails out towards the end of the table, towards me, because this will help your ribbon stay facing the outside edge of the wreath. On the bottom layer, you're really only going to see the tips of the ribbons, so we want to do everything we can to make sure as much of it stays to the outer edge as possible. So now I'm bringing it over here, and I'm putting it in the pipe cleaner, keeping it towards the outside of the wreath as much as possible. I'm going tight and low 3 times. That may have been 4. And then I'm going to twist it up towards the ceiling till I've created at least a 1-inch twist. 1.5 inches. Hopefully you can see that on my hand. So that piece is twisted, and I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to cut off the excess. Only on the bottom layer are we cutting pipe cleaners. So I'm going to cut that off, throw it in the trash, tuck this in. I can either tuck it in now before I adjust my ribbon or wait till I get the whole layer done. I try to do everything as I go so I don't forget about it. So now we need to position our ribbon. So what you do is you're going to lift the top two pieces of ribbon away from the bottom because it's very gathered up here. And lift and place your ribbon in the direction you want it to go. I'm going to lift the top one away from the second one, and I'm going to, it gets really gathered up in here, so I usually push up in there with my fingers to pop it out. But pulling it away nice and firmly helps you get the most use of your ribbon. It makes it easier to place it where you want it. So I'm going to place that over here, and then the top one is going to come down in here. And if you'll notice, I'm running my fingers over the edges to keep it nice and smooth. This popped back up, but that's no big deal. Just push it back in. And then on this side, I'm going to do the same thing, except for the hearts are going to be here, and these hearts are going to be there. This stripe will always be in the center. So I'm going to, it's poofy down there already, so I'm going to lift, and I turn to the wreath so that I'm more comfortable with handling the ribbon, okay? So I'm going to lift these two away and bring this forward, so it'll be like this. And often I'll lay my hand over it to hold it in place. Then I'm going to lift these two and separate them, position this one where I want it, and then on this side, this heart's on top. Now I want to make sure they're all coming to a point towards the outside of the wreath. They're going to try to crawl up here, but making that V before we put the ribbon in the frame really helps it stay towards the outside. It's still going to fight you. You're still going to have to fluff your wreath when you get done. And I like to push down on it a little bit to help it stay nice and thin. So again, just like with the mesh, I'm going to skip one, and I'm going to go to this one. Now, it doesn't matter with these top two ribbons. The designs are not directional. They go every which way, so it doesn't matter how I put them in. But I'm not doing that one. I'm doing this one. I need to remember to do it with the hearts in the same direction as that one. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, so it's going to be with the hearts up and away on that side. So I skipped this one. I'm going to this one. I'm going to open this up and gather it. I'm going to now pull it down to the end of the table and make sure that your tails are even on each side of the center. That's why we crease it, so there's more accurate sizing. So we're going to bring it over here. This mesh has got an attitude already. This is a nice mesh. I like it a lot. It's got a lot of texture. So tight and low. Twist it 1, 2, 3. Can you guys stay down here? Thank you. Now I've done the 3 tight and low. Now I'm going to twist up. It's usually 6 to 8 twists to get a 1 inch. Just depends on how tightly you do your twists. After you've done your 3 tight ones on the bottom, it's not as important to keep it super tight. So I've done that. I'm going to cut off the excess that I didn't twist, throw it in the trash, tuck this down in, and then I'm going to position my ribbon, okay? So lift and separate, position. Work with me. I have no nails. It makes it really hard. Lift, separate, position. It's just so dry, they just keep breaking. And I'm probably not drinking enough liquids. So I did those 3. I'm going to lift. I turned it a little bit. I'm going to lift and separate the top 2 from the bottom one. Bring this down this time, where it was up on the other side. Lift and separate, and then place these. Okay? So I'm going to hold them down a little bit, put a little weight into it so that they stay. Skip one, and we're going to go to this one. And gather these in the center. I need to turn it around. I wasn't paying attention, because this also has to make sure the hearts are facing the same directions as that. Okay, fold it down towards the end of the table and give it a V. shape. Bring it over to the frame, stick her in there. Tight and low, twist 1, 2, 3. Then twist up 6 to 8 times to make a 1-inch twist. Cut off the excess. Put it in the trash. Tuck that in. Position your ribbon, okay? So we're lifting and separating, position. Lift and separate, position. I do that forward motion when I'm pushing out that little bit of bubbles up by the gathering, okay? I turned it again so I can be more comfortable. Lift and separate. Position the heart down here instead of up there. The directional heart, I should call it. The directional heart ribbon. Lay it out. I like to press it down. You don't have to press it down, that's a me thing. But if I'm going to put it for a storm door, I want it to stay nice and thin. It will look fluffy as you saw in the beginning from the forward look, but from the side it'll be nice and thin. Okay, so now we're going to go back and do the ribbon on this 3 pieces. And now we're going to make sure that the directional heart ribbon is in the opposite direction. It's nice to do it that way too, because it gives it more dimension. Draws the eyes differently. Ruffle that center, fold it towards the end of the table in a V. Bring it over to your frame, and it's also going to overlap the ribbon and the other 3. That gives it a nice pattern. Tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then twist up 6 to 8 times to make a 1-inch twist. Cut the excess off. Tuck that in and repeat the process of positioning your ribbon. So lift the top 2, separate, position. Lift the top one, position the second one, then position the top one. Okay. The more product you get on the wreath, the more you have to contend with as you're working with it. Be patient with yourself. Turn it. Lift and separate. Position the bottom. Position the middle. Position the top. Making sure they're all facing the outside of the wreath. More than likely, you're going to have to fluff your ribbon at the end, so don't play with it too much right now. It's not necessary. And then the last one on this layer. So our directional needs to go this way. Did I say the last one? No, there's one more set after this. Make that V after you've ruffled the center. Gathered the center, ruffled 6 of one, half a dozen of another, right? Twist it tight and low, 1, 2, 3. Then twist up about 6 to 8 times to get that 1-inch twist. I know I'm very repetitive, but I'm trying to get it embedded. I also recommend, if I haven't said so already, to watch the video through once if you've never done this, and then go back and stop and start as you need while you're assembling the actual wreath. Always try to lift the ribbon up and away from the mesh when you're positioning it so that it doesn't catch on itself, because the edge of the ribbon will end up fraying too if you're not careful. If it catches on that Velcro. So lift up, position, separate and position. Lift up, separate and position. There's a piece of frayed mesh. It's hard to see sometimes. That's why it's important to do it as you go along, okay? So we're going to turn it a little bit more. Lift and separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And as always, remember to run your finger along the edges to keep it nice and even and not wrinkled and smooth. This is a mixture of, what's that extra? Of polyester ribbons and a linen ribbon. So it gives it some other textures that way as well. So let's get this final one done on this layer. So it goes this way. Yep. I'm always questioning myself because it's better to check twice and only do it once than not check and do it multiple times. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Using the edge of the table to help me. I'm keeping them even, making that V. There we go. Twist. 1, 3, 3, 2, 3. I did that twist tight and low. I'm lifting this because it's sticking on the mesh. I lifted it up. Now I'm going to do the 6 to 8 twisting up towards the ceiling to create that 1-inch twist. Cut the excess off. Tuck it in. It's bugging me. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. And then position this one. Same thing on this side, except the opposite directions. Lift, separate, position, put the hearts down low, and the directional hearts down low where they were up high on the other side. Lift, separate, position. Make sure they're in their space. This likes to pop up because we put a little elbow into our pulling. Okay. There. So we have finished the first layer. Coming along nicely, isn't it? So now we're going to pull the other 6 up that are on the rail 3 and 4. So we're going to pull these 6 up in between each piece of mesh. Not through the mesh, but in between. And we're going to immediately put them horizontal for the mesh. That's one. Bring up the next one. I'm just bringing it up in between each piece. That's going to help the layering and to keep it shorter by doing it this particular way for the pancake method. And I'm immediately, like I said before, placing my pipe cleaners so they're ready to go. Now, I sit during most of the process, not during the sign attachment process. So if you're more comfortable standing to do this, by all means, I do a combination. I prefer sitting. My table's the right height for it, as well as my chair. So we have all 6 ready to go, and it's time for the mesh again. So we'll go ahead and put in the first 3 pieces of mesh with the hot pink on the outside, and then the last 3 will be with the light pink. Now, see this roll of mesh? As you go in, the rolls are tighter and tighter. That makes it a little bit more difficult to handle when you're rolling it out on the table because there's a tighter curl to it. That's another reason why having the chip clip is so important, or something to hold it down at the far end. So I always like to use the table to unroll it. I said that before, I'll say it again. So I'm going to fold it in half. I have the hot pink on the right side of me, just because I like it that way. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this end. This time I'm going to start off with 2 hands, but I also like to put one hand up here and just gather with one hand to hold the mesh down and taunt, because the strips of mesh are more curly. And I also do the ruffling much faster in a normal situation, not in a tutorial, much faster that way. So I gathered it in my thumb and forefinger, evening up the edges. I'm going to bring it back over here. I'm going to put this mesh in vertically. I'm going to twist the pipe cleaner. 1, 2, 3, and they're all tight and low. I'm going to take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Okay, and I need to make a little adjustment, I think. No, we're good. We're perfectly circular out here. Oh, no, this is a little bit longer. Let me reach under here holding the pipe cleaner and bring this out just a touch. There we go. That's more even now. Okay, I'm going to skip one and go here, remembering that I want that hot pink on the outer edge. Curl side down always. Clip it in the center there. Do the same thing the other end. Now I'm going to be quiet for a minute while I'm ruffling. That keeps the mesh from going wild as I'm ruffling it because it's so much tighter of a curl. If you've never done this before, you'll understand when you do it. If you already make stuff with mesh, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm skipping, I did that one, so I'm skipping that one. Putting this mesh in vertically. Tight and low. Twist 1, 2, 3. Okay. You could do it just twice, but I think the third twist gives it a little bit more security for when and if you have to pull on the mesh. So take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Move these pipe cleaners out of the way. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Alright, so this side is good. This side is good. So we can move on, skip this one, and go here. Curl side down, fold it in half, clip it in the center, fold it in half, gather it into your thumb and forefinger. And like I said, I'm using the one-handed technique, so I can put the other one up here to hold it flat. I have a line to follow, so that makes it even easier in the mesh. I'm going to hold it loosely in my thumb and forefinger. I'm trying to place it right where the two pinks come together. And that usually takes care of making sure everything's nice and even. What happens between here and here, that's another story. Get that in there. Center it. Tight and low. 3 times. Get that out of the way. So we're going to take the, stay there, ribbon. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Take the outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. It's a little bit pointy over there and a little bit dipped here, so I'm going to hold this and bring it out by grabbing at the base of the pipe cleaner. So now we have that nice circuit going. So now we get to go back and do the last 3. Okay, and then we have a decision to make onto whether we're going to put the ribbon on first or the sign on first. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to have to remember the light pink's going to go on the outside because the other one had the hot pink. So fold it in half. Fold it in half. If you don't like this technique, go to the two-handed technique. Just, I'm more comfortable doing it this way. And because at this point the curls on the mesh are much tighter, it helps me keep control of the mesh as I'm ruffling it that way. See, I turned it a little more to the side this time. Putting that in there. So the mesh is in vertical, the pipe cleaner was horizontal. Getting that centered between the two different colored pinks. And twisting tight and low 3 times. Lift that up. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. The outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. A few pieces of fray sticking out. There's like a clear colored poly mesh in here, and it's not easy to see. So when you're at that point and you see it, take care of it right away. Okay. Lift this away. All right. That looks nice. We'll come here. Oh, there it is. I'll use that one now. Get it out of the way. See how it looks once you've ruffled it once? I did a tester to make sure that all the elements look good together, so that's what this is. I'm just going to cut off the fray right there, and I'm going to re-ruffle this. Pretty easy considering it's already semi-ruffled as well. I don't like to waste materials. Okay, so I have that light pink on the outside. Put that in there. I was like, why am I missing a piece? I'm not. It was over here. 2, 3. Put that in the air. Take that outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over the inside cut edge. I just need to pull it out this way towards me a little bit. They're even. There we go. And last but not least, light pink to my right, because that's how I want to put it in. Fold it in half using the table to uncurl it. Place the clip, fold it in half. Gather up the center. Using the one-handed technique on this layer, so you know that you have 2 different ways for sure that you can do this. Try both and see what you're more comfortable with. All right, that was nice and even. Excuse me. Put that in there. Even in the center. Tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. Outside cut edge over inside cut edge. All right. So I'm making an adjustment there. Everything else looks good. So now we have all of our mesh in the frame. Now we have to decide if we want to put the sign in first and then the ribbon on top of it, or the other way around. I'm going to put the ribbon in first because this is an odd shaped sign. Why is that an issue? If you have a round or a square sign and you put the ribbon in on top of the sign, you're not hiding any of the features of the sign. There are signs like this. There are egg-shaped signs. There are heart-shaped signs. There are star-shaped signs. And you're going to want to see all of the points or the edges so you can see what the shape is. Otherwise, it'll just look like, for lack of a better way to put it, a blob in the center. You want to see all the features on this. So that's the point I decide to put the ribbon on before the sign, is when it's not a round or a square or a rectangle like a license plate shape. Those, I almost always put the ribbon on top of the sign. So let's put this to the side. We're still not going to use it, and we're going to go back and put our ribbon in, okay? Now, when we did the bottom layer, first of all, let's get the pipe cleaners ready. They need to be vertical. Pipe cleaners vertical with ribbon. Pipe cleaners horizontal with mesh. Again, I'm turning the wreath. It also helps to turn it as you're working on it, because then you're not stretching out and straining your arms and back. And I may sneeze in a moment, just a forewarning. All right. It's coming. Excuse me. Pardon me. So, anyway, as I was starting to say, on the lower layer, the bottom layer, we gathered it up the center, and then we took the edges to the outer edge. You can do that on the top, or you can just leave them straight out. Because of the shape of the sign, again, I'm going to err on the side of doing this way. Because otherwise, a lot of your ribbon's going to be hidden under your sign, and you want to see that pretty ribbon. So let's go ahead and do the same technique, but with one small difference. So we're going to put this in here, and we're going to twist it 3 times tight and low. And then we're going to position our ribbon. Actually, 2 differences on the top layer. I'm going to lift and separate to position my ribbon, and remembering that this one has the directional ribbon upside down to me on the right. Lift and separate. Position. On the other side, I'm going to do the same. It's going to mirror. Where the bottom I did a little differently. I did a little differently on the bottom because otherwise you would never see this bottom ribbon, this directional heart ribbon. So this on the bottom, you'll see it on one side all the way around. I hope that makes sense. So then up here, I'm doing it exactly the same on both sides. So lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. So these are all the same on the top layer. So both of the directional, both of the stripe, and then both of the black and white edged hearts, okay? The second thing on the top layer is to determine if you want them to not see any of the pipe cleaner, which would mean you would twist it 6 to 8 times, maybe 10 on this. Lift your ribbon and hide the pipe cleaner under the tie and cut the excess off so you can't see it. Or do what I like to do and do these little piggy tails, as I like to call them. So let me put these back in position. Let me untwist this. So you'll only have the 3 twists. Okay. I'm going to take that pencil or dowel like I have, and I'm just going to even these up first so that they're even in length. It's not so important based on what I'm going to do, but I like things to be consistent. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to twist one side away from me, and then tuck it down in here, and take the other side and twist towards me. So I twisted that other side away from me, and this side I'm doing towards me, and place it in the center, and it gives this cute little poof. And then the next one, I'll show you the curlicue idea. So we did this one, so we're going to want to skip one and go over here and do the next one. We're going to want to make sure that those directional hearts are upside down to us on the right side. Gather it, make the V, put it in the frame, twist it 3 times, tighten my 1, 2, 3, position my ribbon. Same positioning with the directional hearts up. Lift, separate, position. See how I've got that big old divot in there? Pop that out. That's from how I gathered it. It's not a really clear answer, but can you fix that? Sort of. Sometimes it'll cooperate with you, sometimes it will not. Okay, so Alright, so on the other one I did the little button of pipe cleaner there. On this side I'm still going to do the same thing. Twist away from me. Just to show you, but I'm going to go back to that. I prefer that. I'm twisting it down, but then I'm going to pull it out. If you like something like that, you can leave it like that, or one moment. Just for another idea, you can put buttons on here or other attachments, but if you're doing, oops, I'm throwing things. I don't have any of the big ones left. These are small. I prefer the bigger ones. You could just put a little glue on the tip, and you could put that to give it even more design and dimension. Let me bring that in so you can see that a little bit better. I just need to make sure I pop it back out when I'm done. See that? See that? It's all curly and it has that on the end, but we're not doing that. Let me bring this back out. I'm not doing that, I should say. What you do and add to your project is entirely up to you. There you go. All right, stick you over here. I'll find the lid when we're done. So important to keep your workspace as clean as you can. This table that I use was our old kitchen table, so that gives you an idea of the size of the table too. Let me fix that. All right, so we have 2 in there. Let me go ahead and straighten that out and then twist it on the pen, pencil, or dowel away from me on the inside. And then on this side towards me. So that gave you 3 different styles of pipe cleaner setups for the top layer. The bottom layer doesn't matter because it's all being hidden. So that's 2. Let's do this last one. Making sure that those are upside down to me on the right, on my right. Make the V if you gathered it. Put that in the frame, tight and low, 1, 2, 3. I didn't cut those pipe cleaners because they were the same length. So it just depends on how you twist them when you're throughout the project, how much longer one side will be than the other. It's funny. Okay, so I'm going to do lift, separate position with the directional ribbon up top towards the center of the wreath. Position that, and then position that. Pardon. Lift, separate position. Wow, that doesn't look... How I missed that. What I'm doing, if I can find my scissors, there they are. There's almost no V in that one. I don't know how I missed that, but no harm, no foul. Easy fix. Okay, so that goes there. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, and position. All right, those are even because I already cut them, didn't I? Yep. So curl away from me. Yes, I work off of the table a little bit. I'm more comfortable with that instead of reaching over. Bring it to me. It's less strain on my back. Would standing more alleviate that? Probably. Okay, so that's the first 3. Cut this fray off here. The fray has been very minimal on this mesh. I love that. Okay. So this should be under the ribbon, not on top, the mesh. So now we're going to want to make sure that the hearts are right side up on the right side of the bundle. And we're going to go in, ruffle it, make my V, making sure those are even. Put that in there. Horizontally, tighten low 3 times. I'm going to go ahead and cut this now, so I don't forget to. This time I'm going to put the hearts that are directional to the outside, again with every other concept. So that will come down here. Lift, separate, position. This will be in the center. Pardon guys, like I said, I'm getting over a cold. And then this goes up top. So now these 3 will have this heart in the center and the directional towards the outside. Okay, so I'm going to lift, separate, position, lift, separate, position. Okay, now I'm going to make my curls. Outside, inside, curl away from me. Outside, curl towards me. It just sits better when you do it that way. If you do them both the same direction, they don't look as, it doesn't look as finished, I guess is the way I would phrase it. 2 to go. This is so pretty. I love all these colors. I'm fussing, I shouldn't do that. So right side up on the directional ribbon, on my right side, ruffle, create my V, making sure they're even. Twist 1, 2, 3, and they're all tight and low. Curl away from me. The nice part about all the tools that I use is they're things you have around the house for the most part. Most people have a chip clip, and I did that before I did that. See, sometimes when I'm talking, I gotta pay attention then. I curled those before I placed the ribbon, but not a big deal. Tools. So we're lifting and separating and positioning. Popping those little pockets of gather out. Lift, separate, position. It's a chip clip. You have needle nose around the house. Wire cutters. And some good scissors. Your good scissors you don't let people use on anything else other than crafting with the ribbon and such. It will make them dull and you won't be happy with the cuts on your ribbon. Alright, back to this. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. It didn't damage the setup of the pipe cleaner, so I don't have to mess with it. But this caught my attention and it's bugging me. This mesh should be tucked up under the other piece of mesh, and all the ribbon should be on top of it. Okay. Now let's do this last one, and then we'll put the sign in. Right side up with the directional ribbon on the right side. Ruffle down the center. Hold it with your thumb and forefinger. Bring the tails down towards the edge of the table evenly. Bring it over to the frame, placing it in the pipe cleaner horizontally. Pipe cleaners were vertical. Twist the pipe cleaners tight and low 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Remembering that that's to help keep the wreath nice and thin. Put these out of the way. I'm going to cut the ends to match so they're even. And now I'm going to do lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Lift, separate, position. Let's do this on the other side. Remembering that on the top layer, lift, separate, and position. Lift, separate, position. On the top layer, you're having the same ribbon tails up every other. So this one, and this one have this ribbon towards the inside of the wreath. And on the 3 in between, it has the directional heart on the inside. Curl your wires, pipe cleaners. There's wires in them. Away from you on the inside, towards you on the outside. And that is your base complete. Okay. So now we're going to put one section of ribbon tails at 12 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. That's how we know where the center of our wreath is. That will help us place our sign on the wreath. I'm going to take the pipe cleaners and pull them to the front of the wreath sign, so I know where they are. And then I'm going to place this on. I'm going to double check. I think the peak here is the center, so let's see. So that comes out to 11.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Yep, that's the center. So we can reposition the ribbon when we get done. So that's my center there, which is also the center of the doors. So the doors should be centered with this one. And then the one tool that I didn't share with you yet is a plastic embroidery needle. I use these to pull the pipe cleaners through the mesh and into the back. It's a lot less struggle. You can get them on Amazon or, you know, at your fabric stores, your Michaels, your Hobby Lobby, sorry. So what I do is I put the, let me start up there. I'm turning this now. So I put this through the mesh all the way to the back at an angle going under the sign. I like to bring it to the edge of the table so it's hanging over, so then this will go through. And I take the tip of the pipe cleaner and I wrap it around so it stays on there till I have a chance to pull it all the way through. And then I pull it off of the needle. When putting a sign on, the best way to do it is if you do it in an X formation. So I did that one. I'm going to do this one next. Move this out of the way. We don't want to try to go through the ribbon. Okay. So I'm going to do this one next. Why am I doing it this way? Make sure the ribbon on the bottom layer is out of your way so you're not stabbing it like I tried to just now. Why? Why an X formation when you're doing the sign? Because that way your sign ends up nice and even and not dipping in over here and sticking up over there, kind of a thing. Okay. Lift it away from the table, pull it through, take it off of the needle. Okay, so then we're going to do these two. Same thing. Putting it through the table. Not through the table, through the mesh. I'm going to do the last one by hand to show you how to do it if you don't have this kind of tool. It is not provided for you with the kit. Make sure they're at least 6 inches long. I had the 3-inch ones originally when I bought them for teaching class in person. Yeah. It's just not long enough. And especially if you're making a bigger, poofier wreath than this, might as well just go all in and get the longer ones. Okay, I'm going to sit for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take that pipe cleaner and I'm going to manually feed it through the mesh. And it's going to fight me a little bit. I won't lie. I can do it. I did it for years without the needle. So it just takes a little bit more time to get it through the mesh because you got to make sure that you're getting it around the ribbon from the bottom layer too. And you want to make sure it's enough under the sign that no one can see it, especially since the ribbon is under the sign. If you have the ribbon above the sign, it might hide the pipe cleaner if it showed. Okay, so I need some going to protect my sign. You got a bag for the sign. This is not the one from the sign. This will help protect it from scratching because I'm going to take it and I'm going to press it down just a little bit. Make sure it's, first I'm going to make sure it's where I want it. I'm going to put this on there so I don't scratch it when I turn it over. Lift it up, turn it over, and now you have the 4 pipe cleaners. And I'm just going to wrap them. I'm going to press down on the frame a little bit so the sign settles in it but is not squished. It won't look squished when we're done. And the same thing with this. I'm going to put these on, twist them on in an X formation. Helps me keep it even. And I'm just going to twist it around the frame until it's gone. And one more piece of advice, make sure when you get to the end that that point is pushed back down towards the inside. That one was way over there. Let me get it over here a little bit more. It won't affect it on the front side. So I like to put it around where these are. Not always possible, but we still want the back to look halfway decent, especially if it's going on a door with a glass insert. We don't want the back to look like a road map mess. Okay, so let's do this one. I didn't do that tight enough. Hold on. Do not swish your wreath around. You move. Because otherwise there's a chance of scratching the sign. The reason we put that bubble wrap envelope in the sign is to help keep from scratching it. So I'm going to lift it. Put it back on top of that. Oh. No one's perfect, right? But the bubble wrap's there to protect it in case I did do something like that. I did turn it without lifting it. Alright, and while you're back here, I always recommend cutting off any frays you see. So it's nice and fresh looking. There's some. It's hard to tell because it's always those clear ones. Makes it less visible for anybody else too, right? So there's one right there and there. Alright, so the back is nice and clean. Put that in the trash. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the bottom. And I'm going to lift the mesh from the top layer away from the bottom layer so that I can lift and separate the ribbon tails again without damaging the ribbon and without damaging the mesh. Two, three. 4. I was zoning out there for a second. This is 5. Pardon. And then this is the final one on the bottom. And then if you want the ribbon to look a little curlier, there is a technique that I learned from one of my very first students in my very first classes. You can just take this and either one by one or all 3 at one, give it a little curl. Poofs it up a little bit. Even doing this, you won't be able to tell behind the screen door. It will not flatten it like a pancake, no pun intended. But it gives, I just want you to see how poofy you can make it if you're not putting it behind a door. Because a lot of people use these for inside the home as well. And in that case, it doesn't matter how tall it is, how deep it is, I should say. But again, if you don't have a wooden dowel, just use a pen or a pencil. Just make sure the cap is on the pen. That would stink if you got ink on the ribbon. I don't really have a solution for that. Just gives it a little bit more oomph. This one went a little longer than normal because it is a tutorial and because it is the first one of the year, first kit of the year. But I wanted to make sure that you had all your questions answered, and if you didn't, feel free to reach out. I will answer any questions you have, as long as they're appropriate, if you know what I mean. See how that's stuck to the mesh? Alright, let me take a look at it and see if I need to do anything else. There's a piece of fray. I think that's good. Alright. And she's finished. Love Shack for Valentine's Day. There you go. Well, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like the content you see on my page, feel free to follow me here and subscribe. It's free. You can also follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. I just don't do TikTok. All with the same name, Wreaths by Marguerite. On Facebook specifically, since I got hacked, it's Wreaths by Marguerite LLC. So thank you again for joining me. I have new content every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you like what you see, come back and enjoy some more. I've got almost 2 years of content now already, which is exciting. And I appreciate you spending time with me. I know that your time is valuable, and the fact that you spend some of it and carve out some of your day to spend with me is very much appreciated. So thanks very much. And once again, Happy New Year's 2026. Enjoy. Thanks. Bye.